All right, here we go, part B. Using the square root method to solve quadratic equations. But these are ones with no b value. This is a shortcut that I mentioned. So all of these problems have the same look as this one down here. Okay? If you use this method, it is the only time we don't set it equal to 0. So let me explain. I see this equation and I know right now that my two answers, I get two answers. One of them is 6, the other one is -6. But if it's 6 and -6, I could just say plus or minus 6. That's the short answer version of that. How do I do it? Well, this is when we get the squared information all by itself. So, how do I do it? Well, I have this as my original, and it's an equation, so I'm going to add 36 to both sides. And if I do that, well, -36, those cancel. The only thing left over here is x squared. And what does x squared equal? Well, 0 plus 36, it equals 36. So this is why we call this the square root method. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Remember, in any equation, if you do the same exact thing to both sides, you're not really changing it. So if I take the square root of x squared, well, what does the square root say? It says what times itself gives you that? Well, the answer is x. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. X equals what? Well, what's the square root of 36? It's 6. But whenever we use this trick, we put a plus or minus in front. Because when you're solving a quadratic, here's the big thing. A quadratic means it has a power of 2. And that power of 2 means there's two answers that'll make it true. Think about it. If I go back to the original and I plug 6 in right here, 6 squared is 36. Minus 36, it would equal 0. Or if I plugged in -6, -6 squared means -6 times -6. That would be 36. Take away 30, I'd get 0 again. So what we're going to see is all our answers are going to have this plus minus look to them to represent the two answers that are possible when we use a quadratic or solve a quadratic equation. So the good news is this video is going to go a whole lot faster than the last one because I am cluing you in as to how to use this shortcut. And the shortcut is get the squared thing alone, isolate the variable, and then take the square root of both sides. We're going to just knock these out because here's another one, very similar. But remember, this is the only time we don't want to set it equal to 0. I want to get the squared, I want to get the squared thing alone. So what do? Well, I add 25. I add 25. Remember, it's an equation. If I do the exact same thing to both sides, I'm not changing it. But what does that give me? It gives me x squared equals 25. And then we take the square root of both sides. We root. Now, I refer to these as cheerleader equations. That's my shortcut name for them. Because what do cheerleaders do? They root. That's what they do. So we get x equals plus or minus 5 because both of those answers will be correct. Every quadratic equation has two solutions to it. There they are. You could plug them back into the original and verify that it is totally true, but I'm not going to make you plug them back in. I'm going to make it a little easier on you. I will give you an answer key, and when you do your problems, check them. Here we go. Not much work to show, but on the practice sheet, it's going to say show all work. So on this one, let's just go right to it. We go, hey, get out of here, 24. go over to the other side. So I end up with x squared equals 24, and then ready, okay, let's cheerlead. We'll root. We get x equals plus or minus. Now wait a minute, this one's not like the others. Oh yeah, I have to simplify this radical. Tree it off for me. I would need 4 times 6 to get 24, and then what can I pull out? 2. So the final answer is x equals plus or minus 2 root 6. Now, you could do this with the quadratic formula, but I'm hoping you're seeing this is way faster. And let's try this next one, because this next one, oh, there's a number in front now. What do? You divide. Get that thing out of your face. Out of my face. Then I get x squared. By the way, I went with my mouth. That was not coming out of any other part of me. And I got 49/9. And you might go, oh, I hate fractions. But don't fear. Check this out. Ready? Okay. Let's root. X equals plus or minus. Now, what is the square root of 49? Oh, it's just 7. Hey, even better. What's the square root of 9? Oh, it's 3. So my answer is plus or minus 7/3. You do that with the quadratic formula, you're going to take a long time to get to the same exact spot I just got to. Really, I'm trying to tell you, when you guys take the final, the unit test at the end of this first unit, you get to use any method. I always say, use any method of your choice. I would use this method if the problem looked like this, because this is a shortcut. Now the next one, very similar. I want you guys to try it. So this would be a part where you should pause the video, do what you think is right, and then check your answer against mine. So ready? I'll wait for you. Pause it, you work it out. I assume you just hit play after you did it, and you found that your correct answer is plus or minus rad 5. Or maybe you didn't. See, you got to divide by 5 first. You got to get the variable isolated. And if I divide both sides by 5, look, that's 1. Oh, 1 what? One of these. Now 25 divided by 5 is 5. And then it's cheerleading time. Ready? Okay. I root, and I get x equals plus or minus. I can't simplify this. I can't do anything about that. There's the answer. So I hope you were able to do that on your own. And wham, you're done. You try doing that on the quadratic formula. First off, you'd have to set it equal to 0. Then you'd have to do all the negative b, plus or minus square root, all that junk. I'm done. So are you if you do it the fast way. So how do you recognize it? Well, guess what? You don't see any x to the first in the problem. You don't. What would be my first step on this one? My first step on this one would be isolate the x squared. So I'm going to take it away, take it away, take it away now. I don't know if you guys listen to the Chili Peppers, but they have a song written all about solving quadratic equations using this method. Take it away now. Root x equals plus or minus. Now don't forget to poke out your eyes. And then what's the square root of 16? It's just 4. And then you go, plus or minus 4 eyes. I wear glasses, so I think the 4 eyes thing is, I guess it's kind of hurtful. But I'm a tough guy. I don't care. All right, plus or minus 4i, that's the answer. It can happen. You can get complex numbers. You can get I values in your problems. You will get some I values when you do the practice problems. Let's keep going. Oh, what's up with this guy? This has got a double whammy. Now remember, I don't see an x to the first. Do you? If you don't see an x to the first, your job is to isolate that piece. So I'm going to move this away. Take it away, take it away, take it away now. And then I'm going to have, well, wait a minute, I still have a stupid 2 in the front. Well, that's okay, you're not done. Divide by -2. Oh, goodbye. What do I have? X squared equals, oh, well, negative cancels negative. 2 goes into 20. That is just 10. And I'm ready to cheer. And what do I get for an answer? X equals plus or minus. Can you pull out anything out of rad 10? No, you're done. That thing's done. Stick a fork in it. It's done. All right. You guys try this one. Pause it. See if you can get it. No, go ahead. Pause it. Okay, I'll wait. All right. If I were you, I would have divided by 4. That's what I would have done to start with. Cancels the 4, or you get 1x squared. On the other side, you got a negative. You do. So you know i's are going to pop out. Does 4 go into 80? It does. Let's reduce it. Let's make it smaller. That's -20. Root x equals plus or minus. Poke out your eyes. But don't forget, 20 has a perfect square living inside of it. You mean 2 times 10? No, I don't mean 2 times 10. That's crazy. How about 4 times 5? Right? You want a perfect square. What comes out? 2. So don't forget, you got a 2, you poked out your eye, and then you got a rad 5. And that is your answer. This is the root method, square root method for solving. Now, is this the square root method for solving? Could I go like this? Hey, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to move all this junk over here, and then I'm going to go like this. No, this is not, never. You can't do that. What makes the square root method work? There can't be an x to the first in it. You can't have this guy here. It won't work then. What do I do? Well, guess what? That would be a good one to use the quadratic formula on. Okay? Never do this. Bad news. I scratch it out so much. So here's your practice. Here's the practice problems. But before we do that, I want to remind you, when using the square root method, I call it cheerleading, instead of setting it equal to 0, isolate the variable. Sometimes we have to move stuff over by adding or subtracting. Sometimes we have to divide. Sometimes we have to do both. But once you get the variable alone, once it's alone, that's cheerlead time. Root. But don't forget to put a plus minus on your answer. Ooh, you want to make sure you got the full answer. So, let's take a look at what you guys have to practice. This is the second video, so you've hit the practice stage. And this says Solving Quadratic Equations Part 1, because you're going to do Part 2 in video 7. Solving Quadratic Equations Part 1. For problems 1 through 5, solve using the quadratic formula. But you know what? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they all look like good problems to use the quadratic formula. Then it says for problems 6 through 10, use the square root method, the one we just covered. For both of these, remember, show your work. Definitely show your work. But there's not much work to show on 6 through 10 because you can do those pretty quick now. All right? Some of them you have to add or subtract something. Sometimes you have to divide. Sometimes you do both. But you can get the variable isolated and then root. All right, now, coming in your future, you have a Unit 1 assessment. And on the Unit 1 assessment, it will say this: solve using any method. That's what it'll say when you get to the test. So these ones, you use any trick you want to do these. Anything you want to do. And here's the answer key for all of them. So 1 through 16. And look, there's some problems where I have plus or minuses written in, And I have some where there's I numbers. There's a couple of them that are going to reduce. Be on the lookout for reducing. And if you need any extra help, remember, look at the other video that went along with this, because this is only talking about the root method. Okay, good luck to you. If you need help, please ask.